speak to AI tech expert Dan Sodergren. Dan, morning.
Good morning.
What part is AI playing in Christmas this year? It feels like it's the first year that we've really noticed it.
Yeah, I mean, normally I do talks on the future of work rather than the future of Christmas. But yeah, AI is a big thing, as the other caller was saying. And I think you were just alluding to. I think one of the big ones you could use ChatGPT or generative AI, as it's called. You could generate some amazing Christmas imagery that normally, you'd pay for, but now you can make it in minutes. And of course, you can kind of hyper-personalize that as well. But AI really excels at understanding data and patterns, right? So the reason why it's such a big thing in this Christmas, and I think it'll be even bigger next year, is because data-driven decisions create customer delight, right? And we all want, for Christmas, for Granny to be delighted with the present. As you were just talking to the other caller about, this could be where AI is very good. Now, of course, it's only very good with the data that you put in, of course. So garbage in, garbage out. If it has a lot of data about the person, then of course it can pick a great gift. And of course, a great gift picked by a computer kind of makes sense, But I built one of these last year when AI wasn't as good, without very much data, and actually it did kind of put out a load of rubbish ideas. So in the end, I just bought everyone wine. But this whole kind of data-driven commerce isn't new. But of course, the artificial intelligence side of it is.
Yeah, I actually tried a little experiment this morning, Dan, just before we came on air. I put, what should I buy for Dan Sodergren this Christmas into a common AI platform, and it came back with the suggestions. Let me have a look here. He likes books about technology or any bits of technology he will gratefully receive. I mean, that's kind of obvious, really, isn't it?
Well, I mean, again, it's about how much data you've put in, of course. It's probably done a web scrape about myself, and it's found that, by the way, if you want to buy me some tech, I'm very happy for you to do so. I've got no qualms about that. There you go. But, we've got to remember that it's all about data, isn't it? So you remember years ago, Tesco kind of club card came out, and Tesco's now got one of the biggest data lakes. Obviously, there are other club cards available because there's lots of other shops you can go to. But the point being is they could do this thing for marketing because they had all this data. So you think about what Amazon could potentially do with Amazon recommendations on steroids, and then you really think about things like predictive present buying, so it really knows a lot about you. I think you're going to see this much more next year. At the moment, I think a lot of the bigger tech companies are a bit wary of those hallucinations that these things can do. So it hasn't handed it all over to their own artificial intelligence Santa Claus. And of course, Santa Claus has got to be helped by technology too. So let's hope that Santa gets cleverer and cleverer as artificial intelligence gets cleverer too.
This is the first time that we've really seen these big ads generated, the Coca-Cola one being the most obvious one. But, this is where normally a lot of creative money is spent, whether it be John Lewis, Sainsbury's, Tesco, Asda, the big brands pulling in these big Christmas ads. Are they going to start changing because of AI, Dan?
Well, it's a little bit like we talked about with movies, didn't we? You remember when CGI was kind of the newest thing? I don't know how you must probably too young for that, but I can remember when you had all this situation where everyone was saying this isn't real movie making, and now of course you can't really see movies without it because it's got so good. I think we're going to see the same with advertising. Advertising will get better and better, and in fact, this is the scary thing, Stephen. In some respects, I think it's going to become this bit where they use data to make not just one amazing Christmas ad, but make lots of literally tens of thousands of Christmas ads actually angled for you yourself. So you get to that marketing nirvana where through digital marketing, you can actually market to one person and you can start using AI and predictive analysis. Now, that scares a lot of people because they think, surely they shouldn't know all this information about me, so how do they know what I like? But actually, that's the reality of life. However, to answer your first question about the Coca-Cola ad, I think people could notice how bad it was. Now, in the next couple of months, with Google's new version coming out and Sora coming out, there's new versions came out literally yesterday. If they did it again today, you wouldn't be able to tell it was an AI advert. And I think that's, to be honest with you, that's the future because AI has got better and better. It means that people can become more and more productive, and it means that these companies can create more and more clever adverts. I don't see it going away.
So take us into, with your futurist hat on, what those individually... I'm really interested in these tailored ads that you were talking about there. So you could get a major retailer, for instance, who knows that Dan likes to buy a bottle of port in the run-up to Christmas, that Dan... They will dig into what you've bought in the past and then turn their advertising specifically to target you on that.
Well, yeah, I think this is the future of marketing. The future of marketing is the ability, because of course you couldn't do this as a human being. You couldn't have all this stuff inside your head, right? You couldn't create 20 million adverts for all the different people at different times. You've got to remember, if they know what you like to buy and they know your demographic, they know your, what they call the psychographic, your psychology as well, they can time these mini adverts to really target you at the right times. So actually it actually becomes a really useful thing. So if your phone was reminding you, oh, you must probably, it's Dad's birthday in a couple of weeks, plus you know that Dad likes port or Dad likes this or the other, we've given you a link to this. Well, it doesn't take very much for the companies to intercept that moment. Instead of your phone being helpful, it's actually the company that wants you to buy its product being helpful. Does that make sense? That you can get to that. But you can also do it with geolocation. So you can literally do it where your phone is and where you are in the world. Do you want to go to this next store? Do you remember that it's Mum's birthday soon? You should buy some flowers. By the way, there's a place right next door and we've given you 10% off. That's where we're going to go with marketing. The question really is, especially for generative AI, is how much do they then generate individual graphics and videos for you? And I put it to you, Stephen, that it's not me that's in the videos, but it's actually people who are my friends that have bought something similar and that like it. And so it'd be much more fun if, a friend of mine on a little video was saying, I really loved buying this. It's really great, Dan, or, maybe go to the pub nearby because I went there last week. It's mixing all that kind of clever data and emotional intelligent data. And that's where the future of marketing is going to be. It might kind of shock a few people, but I have a feeling it's going to go straight into our phones and into our personal experience so much that we actually think it's a bonus rather than a negative.
Wow, that sounds amazing. The one thing it's not going to be able to do is on a wet, cold Thursday morning trudge around the shops for us, Dan.
Not yet, but of course you could always get stuff delivered. I'm not saying that, by the way. Always support the high street. They're very important too.
But even the delivery thing, I guess, could change with this as well. Your phone telling them that you are not in at that time. There's no point in delivering something just now. This is all going to change. Everything's changing.
Well, absolutely. And it's that moment of, that's the point about data-driven decisions create customer delight. Instead of them delivering it being annoying that you were out, well, technically they should know. They should know that you're going to be out, and they should be able to predict this kind of stuff. And that's where it gets exciting, because predictive analysis actually makes life a lot easier, not just for the future of work and not just for e-commerce stuff, but actually for everything, like things like health tech, etc. So, the really exciting bits around artificial intelligence isn't necessarily the future of Christmas. It's having more and more Christmases because it helps you with your health, isn't it? Health is the most important thing rather than wealth or presents.
Dan, I'll get back to my Christmas list for you at the end of this, but thanks for your time this morning, Dan Sodergren, AI and tech expert.